Hello and welcome each and every one of you. With you today is me, Daiga, multilinguistic international coach therapist from DCT Center. Also, I am a true speaker, healer, energy worker, guide, mentor, co-creator, galactic ambassador from Pleiadians. And also with me is two lovely ladies, Morganne Rayne, who is spiritual consultant, gratefully providing access to higher dimensions of being. Morganne has been called healer of healers as a way to describe unique spiritual tools she shares. Morganne is here to serve those who seek great understanding of their secret spiritual self, have deep desire to integrate the consciousness in their 3D world. And we have Jeannie with us. And Jeannie is saying about herself, I am lifetime student of growth. I continually take classes to enhance my knowledge and knowledge base. At present, I'm studying internal family systems, IFS. Maybe, Jeannie, you want to say something more about yourself. Maybe something new is coming about you.
Without getting into too many details, it's just I'm on a path of continued growth, and I'm constantly learning. Learning about the field I'm in, and also learning myself personally, and so that's all I want to say for right now, because we could go a long way with that.
We lost Morganne.
I wonder if the cat stepped on her computer.
No, lovely. I love this cat, but we sadly lost Morganne, and Morganne has to think about what we will be talking about today.
Yeah, she'll be back.
Okay. How was your week? We haven't seen each other for weeks, so how was your week?
It was really, really good. So if we have time, I'd like to tell you about my Friday night, or Saturday. It was Saturday night, and I worked on my outside of my house all day, and I came in, and the sun had set, so the sky was just red and orange and all these different colors, and I just sat there on my couch and looked outside, and didn't and because it was getting dark, I chose not to turn on any of the lights, just sit there and watch the sunset. I mean, the sun was already setting, but just watch the darkness come in. And it was just so incredibly peaceful. And I sat there. So I guess it was like 9:15 when it came in at night. And I sat there till 11:30 at night, just more peaceful than I've ever been in a long time, watching because then the stars came out, and there's planes in the distance, and it was just so beautiful. And I just stars came out. Morganne?
You okay?
Boy, I tell you, my computer just started to like do weird things. So, yeah, I think it's fine now. I got everything plugged in. I think it was when I plugged my cell phone into it, it didn't know exactly what to do. And just like when we get plugged into something, or something gets plugged into us that doesn't belong.
Yeah.
Exactly. We just talked about how Jeannie was enjoying very peaceful evening. Jeannie, maybe repeat another time what you said, how peaceful sunset was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I spent the evening, just came in from working on the yard all day, and the sun went down, and I was just watching the sky with all the colors, and I felt like a peace came over me that I hadn't felt in a long time, and I just sat there until 11:30 at night, and I never turned on my lights or anything, just sat in the darkness and looked out into the beautiful sky. And the stars were coming out, and you could see planes in the distance. And it was just so beautiful and peaceful. I was like, wow, I can get this every day. And I
Isn't that something? We get caught up so much in our little meager worlds that we forget about the glory and the beauty that is all around us.
Exactly.
To
To
take
really
take
see.
moments and hours, moments, yes, for sure. Hours, if you can handle it, enjoying the beauty and the magnificence. Yeah, I'm going to meet after for lunch. I'm meeting a very dear friend I haven't seen in about a year. We're going to go have lunch and go to a place called St. Edward's State Park. I think Jeannie knows where it is.
Mhm.
And it is so beautiful there. So yeah, and we're going specifically there so we can enjoy walking and enjoying the beauty. It's important.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
was before I start this getting more and more clients. I had time when I was sort of sick from my 3D job for quite long time because I couldn't walk properly or anything. And I went out on a bike every morning and I watched sunrise.
Mm.
And then it was, I don't have so much memories of sunset, but sunrise, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Just before sunrise, these beautiful colors, that's unbelievable. And every second the skies change.
Yep.
Yeah.
And no
Yep.
people around, only birds and only sea and birds, and that's it. Brilliant.
Yep. Jeannie and I went to a concert this weekend, and the concert was fabulous. And our friends with us, we're just an amazing group anyway. Just saying. But the sky was like, it's just like all of us, because it had been raining and cloudy, and it's like, oh, are we gonna sit in the rain through this concert, like that was a question. It's like, but it was amazing because it like the sky parted and we were able to have mostly dry, little wet, but that was okay. But when there was this moment where the sun hit a line of trees off in the distance and turned them orange. Wow. I got so excited. That was more exciting to me than the concert was to see those trees just go like a flame. They just all, turned orange when the setting sun hit them. So, and then of course, the sky's all pink and purpley, and I love all of that, and I love to appreciate it. I love to um, really sit in that contemplative wonder of beauty. And I remember when I was a kid, my question was, how does that work? How is, it's like I wanted to know how things came into form. How did things function? How did, so I'm always contemplating. And we were talking earlier about curiosity, right? Curiosity is like, oh man, that's the juice. That's the portal entry into our imagination and our creativity. I was listening to just a little mini podcast of, actually, it was Frank Zappa. I don't know who knows who Jeannie knows who Frank Zappa is. You know Frank Zappa. He was a musician like a long time ago. But like this is like it was a 40-year-old interview, and he was talking about the school systems and the structure of those systems have literally bred out the first of all questions, the curiosity, which if we don't have curiosity, because in the school system, you're just told what to learn. There's no discovery. It's, okay, here's the book, memorize it, sit in your chair. It's like, so they don't have the opportunity to develop a questioning mind or a curious mind. Well, in a system, I can understand you wouldn't want a bunch of people being curious and creative, right? But this is what we have to reclaim as humanity. We must reclaim our curiosity. We must reclaim our imagination, because we're creators. And if we don't recapture that, then what we're creating from is a very closed system of control, and we create from that. And the language around that would be, well, maybe I can. I don't know if I can. Oh, I can't. It's like there's no capacity to see beyond just the conversation in the head. It's like you got to go beyond that and begin to delve into the curious and into is it Alice in Wonderland, where Alice says, well, by 6:30 I've already thought of 20 different things. I can't remember the exact thing, but we should all be like that. We indulge ourselves in creative thought and wonder. So I love that our conversation is going here, because I think as humanity, and especially in this day and age, what I hear and I'm experiencing through threads and podcasts and rooms that I'm in, there's a lot of fear. And when we're in fear, the breath gets shallow, the thinking mind gets wrapped around the fear and the what ifs, and we're denied that gift of spirit, which is curiosity and our own ability to create our worlds. So I like having this conversation, because as creators, we need to get back to the unless you become as a little child, you cannot enter into the kingdom consciousness, right? We must get back to that curiosity and that thrill of watching the sunset at night and watching the stars pop out. Those things keep us from, when we put our attention on that, then our intention is not on fear, is not on, anything. Our attention's on wonder. So
I for one moment was starting watching spider webs. Have you seen how beautiful are spider webs in sunrise, with a little bit of pearls of rain in it?
yeah.
Gorgeous. It's something which you can watch for hours, and it's so beautiful and sparkling.
Yep. And the other day I was out, and there were some like low-lying spider webs on the ground, and the dewdrops were on it. Oh, it looked like a platter full of jewels. I took photographs. Of course I took photographs out.
I couldn't really separate. Do I really like this exercise going on a bike, or I enjoy just sunrise and photography? Because I was constantly with my phone. My phone has absolutely great camera, and I was constantly making pictures. Every 2 minutes, something in sky change, or I've noticed something else somewhere, or
Right.
bird open mouth different way, or wave was something different.
Yeah. Yeah. Back in the old days, my dad was a photographer, And so I when I was little, I grew up in the dark room. Probably most people don't even know what a dark room is.
I know my parents had a private, no home this studio thing, and they developed pictures.
Exactly. Well, I grew up with that, starting very early. And my dad gave me a little Brownie camera, and I could have one roll of film a day. So I had to contain myself. Well, today you can just like take hundreds of photos, and pick through it. But back then, you had to really study. You had to study your subject, the composition, the light. It was really paying attention to everything that was around. And something my dad would say, and it just keeps, it's always there. He goes, I smell the light is right. I smell that the light is right. And as a little kid, you just like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, I know what that means, because there's a fragrance in the air when the light shifts. And it's like all of a sudden I'll go, oh, it's time to take the camera out. And that's when you get the most beautiful pictures, because it's something about the light. So, but that's paying attention. And you can only do that by staying in the present moment. So when I'm little, I have to make use of all those. I only had 12 pictures on my little roll of film. It's not very many pictures, but every picture was I paid attention. I looked at what I was photographing. And I kind of miss those days, because now it's just like, on the phone, it's like it's just so available. A lot of times I'll leave my phone and take my camera instead of the phone, because it puts me more back into that being very present, very present. What does the light look like? What's the composition,
Yeah. So I'd like to get back to the curiosity, if you don't mind.
Oh, please.
So as a psychotherapist, curiosity is like the saving grace of everything. And so a lot of times we can be with friends or family, and someone does something or says something that can be off-putting or mean or something. So the best way to deal with that is instead of meeting that, what the interpretation you're coming from is to get curious around it. And and this happens a lot in couples. They think they know what the other person's thinking, and yet it can be completely different. And so it's if somebody says something or does something and it's triggering, you can get curious about it rather than reacting from your head and thinking they're doing this because of that, reacting from your past.
Yep.
So curiosity is a great thing to have.
Yeah, and it really helps with people who have experienced childhood trauma, because you get triggered all over the place. Somebody can look a particular way, and all of a sudden you're triggered all over the place, or they can say something in a particular tone and you're triggered all over. It's not about them. It's all about you and your triggers. Right. So when we become curious, one, if you want to have it like in a couple relationship or a friendship, you can always say, hey, I'm curious when you said that, I had this experience, or you can tell about yourself, or you can just say, I'm curious about, where you're coming from with that. Right. And it kind of opens up a whole big different thing, rather than our heads making shit up about it. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we get defensive, and we start to say mean things, but we're not bringing the conversation deeper. And the way to bring it deeper and more connected is to get curious.
Yeah, yeah. So that's taking responsibility for what's going on rather than reacting to what's going on. Being response able. That's how I mean responsibility, to have the ability to respond. And and curiosity is a big one. And I know everybody here and on the show has heard me say, what else is possible? Right?
Right.
So we can do that around things we hear too, and say, well, what else could they mean? What, it's like to begin to take it deeper within ourselves first before we even approach them, right? Or even have a conversation with them, because really all those triggers are just about us. And
exactly.
Right. And,
and the person has no idea they triggered you.
Exactly. Exactly. And I remember getting triggered once with a friend of mine by something she said. And man, I thought I was going to die, right? It's like I was going to die. And I couldn't I couldn't relate to what was happening or what she was saying, but I was being triggered on the inside. And I remember it took a couple of months because I didn't want to come back and go, blah, 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 why'd you say that? That was so mean, right? But when I went back a couple of months ago, a couple of months later, I was able to say, hey, when, you said this, I'm curious about where you were going with that. And it disarmed her too, where she had to think about how she spoke and determine what she really meant about that. So it became a deepening conversation as opposed to something mean being said and me going off and being reactive and pouting or whatever, right? Being scared or whatever, comes up in a reaction. Reactivity is powerful because it will take you down paths you really don't want to go, and it will yank you there. So it's so important to come back to the present moment and get response able into what's being said, what's happening. So yeah, I love that you brought that up, Jeannie.
And I also love the fact that you brought up you went back a couple months later. It's best to go real time, but the fact of the matter is sometimes we're so overwhelmed that we can't think. It takes whatever the person's doing, it's taking us out, and we're not present any longer. We're back in childhood or wherever we are. Mm-hmm. And so we do need that time to think and to before we can really come back. And so it's just giving ourselves grace to have that time and not feel like we have to just because we hadn't said anything in the moment, or it doesn't mean that we can't come back to the conversation as soon as we get our faculties about us and get what we want to say around
mm-hmm. it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it takes that amount of time.
Right.
Right. Because, you can sit in the trigger, right? But sometimes you have to deal with all the stuff that's coming up around the trigger. It's like, why is my heart racing? Why am I, it's like all this stuff is going on. And I know that there's a man that lives in my community, and he's a screamer and a yeller at. He yells at people and he screams at people. I guess that's the same thing, slightly different, but and his way of getting his message across is by yelling at people, right? So when he yelled, so there was a day where he yelled at 3 people all in the same day, right? All 3 people had a different reaction to this. So I got to, and it was funny because like the most conscious, and it wasn't me, the most conscious reaction was from a woman who just wagged her finger at him and said, "Get out of my way." I go, I'm going to practice finger wagging. The other person met his yelling with more yelling, right? So we got finger wagging, we got met with yelling and more yelling. And then they got me who just closed down, went away to process everything that was coming up, including me wanting to defend these. It's like, but that's how these triggers work, right? So, and we each respond in a different way. And so we have to, we get to, not have to, but we get to just be present to what's coming up for us. And sometimes it takes a while to make that journey before you can have a conversation that is filled with love and filled with insight rather than reactivity.
Right. So it's great with giving ourselves grace for taking that time, because we've got to find out why we got so reactive, and then work on that and come to a clean place before we go back to the conversation. But it's important to go back to the conversation, because that's our work, is to show up in conversation and not avoid. When we avoid, where there's no growth, we get stagnant anytime we're avoiding something.
We get stagnant, right? And then that's what procrastination too, right? That stagnation keeps us from any action. We just stay stuck in the emotional response. And that emotional response, when you look at those, and I notice that when I work with people who have trauma, especially childhood trauma in their lives, that emotional response, you have to be very careful with that, because you don't want to re-traumatize people, right? But you want to know what the trauma was so that you can know where it really came from, so you can heal it. So sometimes I think people get on an emotional drunk, where what I mean by that is they start having that emotion, and they just kind of don't check it. So the emotion, and then the thoughts start coming, and then more emotion, and then more thoughts, and then that's why I call it an emotional drunk.
So they're not self-reflective, is what you're saying.
Exactly. They're just hooked into the emotional trauma response and all the words. Like someone could get triggered, and then you can go, the words could be like, "Oh, I'm a real loser," or "I'm not," and then it continues. And with that thought, there's another emotional response, and then there's another down thought. So it's, being human is so interesting.
Yeah. And what we're talking about is staying conscious of what's happening in the present moment, where we are, where the other person is, and just showing up in it, and being transparent. A lot of people don't really fully state where they are, which means it's harder to connect with somebody who doesn't state where they are. When you fully show up and be transparent about what's going on, it's easier to connect with them.
Absolutely. In this conversation, I know I look distracted, but I'm pulling up something here. what we're talking about, you know, I'll go back to that Rumi poem, The Guest House, right? I want to read it out loud again, because I think that this conversation is saying this. Okay, let me just pull up. So I want to quote it from what Rumi said rather than me paraphrasing. Okay, so this is from Rumi's poem called The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
Mm. I love that. You know, it's each time I read it, I get more out of that poem.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we're talking about, right? If we don't say, well, come on in, you know, what do you need? Where's this coming from? You know, it's like, what would you do with the guests that you invited in? You wouldn't ignore them. You would go, okay, I see your fear. Oh yeah, you know, and come into a conversation with it so you know where it came from. When we start pushing away our feelings and our thoughts, they're just going to come back, right? But in the same token, we can't stay hooked into it and allow it to become an emotional drunk.
Yeah.
I sometimes work, and even now just start working with one client who is just doing everything for like to please partner, regardless about what she likes, needs, whatever. Yeah, she just does everything to please partner. Yeah, and not even trying to explain anything to partner what she would like or how she would like. Yeah, just
Mhm.
keeping everything in herself.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's really sad, because she's not really letting the other person know who she is. And so it's and in a way it's giving herself away. And so it's not serving anybody for her to do that. And you know, usually when people do that, it's from childhood and not having a voice and not being able to make decisions on their own, not being an empowered child. And so it's good if she probably learns how to find out what she likes and what she doesn't like, and be conscious of it and state it.
Who she is, who she is as well, I think.
What do you mean, who she is?
Who she is, her needs, wants, whatever, good deeds, bad deeds, whatever, to find out who she actually is as a person,
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
who she is and how she is in the world, yeah, and what she needs from partner.
Yep. A lot of times, though, what I've noticed is that there's a deservability and a worthiness aspect when people don't ask for what they really want and just accept what they're given. There's a worthiness issue going on too, and that really needs to be addressed. Of course, I go to the who we are as a sacred divine being, right? um, and,
For this person, that's much, much too early to actually talk
exactly. But to work too with discovery of their own value, their own worth, their deservability. Um, yeah. Yeah, it's sad when people give themselves away and don't have the opportunity to enjoy and being present. Because someone who's giving themselves away is not present to the moment. They're reacting out of something that happened a very long time ago, and that's heartbreaking to me.
for me as well. Is on the top of that is heartbreaking. That point, um, she doesn't know how actually feels somebody when somebody loves you, yeah, and is there with you and for you, yeah, and she's absolutely sure that she anyway not going to meet anyone better, yeah.
But yeah, but she's not letting anybody get to know her because she doesn't know herself. Maybe or maybe she's just hiding herself. But people can't love something they don't know.
And that is right on. And loving self, having the courage to love yourself enough to allow someone to love you, right? And a lot of times people who have not experienced love or a healthy relationship push it away right from the get-go. Right when it starts to trigger, they're going to start pushing it away because they do not know how to be in loving, healthy relationship.
And so it would start with her knowing, loving herself. Everything starts with us. And we would need to learn to love ourselves before we can be in relationship with another. Because otherwise we're just projecting our own self-hatred or however she feels about herself.
Yeah.
Onto the other or ourselves.
Yep. Yeah, and the other phenomena that happens with that in relationship is the person will reflect back to them really what's going on. So they may be treating them shabbily, but that's because that's what they believe, right? That they don't deserve anything other than that. So the person that you're with, it could be friendship, relationship, whatever, it will reflect back to you your fears, your pain, your struggle. And if you're conscious, you can go, wow, look at that. Look at what's coming up, right? But if you're not conscious, then what it will do is throw you back into to distress or depression or whatever. So, but that's again, it's about being present in the moment and loving yourself enough to say, be courageous, and not just loving yourself, but to be courageous enough to take a look at that. What's the trigger? So courage, curiosity,
self-love.
Self-love. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
That is name for our show: courage, curiosity, self-love.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And it does take courage to step out of a paradigm that you grew up in.
Right. So what she's avoiding, she's in avoidance of her own feelings and what's going on with her, and sharing that. She's shutting herself down to be in relationship with this person.
Yeah, there is lots of things to do and work on. Okay, what we doing? We starting something new? We continue this, or we going to meditation? At the moment, it's 20 minutes left.
We have 20 minutes left.
No, that's 40 minutes into the show.
Yeah.
At this point.
I don't know. I kind of want to keep talking about this because I think it's important for
Okay.
our listeners. I mean, we can, of course, we can do, meditation. That's beautiful. But I think that when you have three very conscious women who work with people all the time, and understand trauma, that it's good to glean as much information and wisdom as you can from we three who have much wisdom about it.
Yeah, I'll just say, we keep on using this woman, but so many people do this in life, and
I'm sorry, Ginny, I not putting this client as such as only for her. We now talking how to deal with her case, yeah. But I know many. It's not only one client
right,
I'm working with.
right.
I know many clients I'm working who is very similar.
Right, exactly.
So,
and what she's missing out, with a partner or without a partner, is the joy of living her life fully, because she's living in the shadow of this other person, and she's not owning her own life, and so she's missing out on all the joy of knowing yourself and being really clear about that.
you can't even imagine how true and how close to this case you just came. You even can't imagine, because this woman left country where she comfortably lived at, not her country, but where she comfortably already lived for many years. She left for this person and now lives with him in his country, which one language she doesn't know.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You cannot imagine how uh, true it is what you just said. Yeah.
Right. It's almost like she's trying to get her love of self from this person, or the joy of life from this person. So she's putting a lot on this person without.
Oh, yeah. And imagine that would be, that person is you, and this person is depending on you for their happiness and for their joy. And that is in a lot of relationships, that when I hear someone say, "You make me so happy," that's a red flag to me, right? Or, "You made me upset," red flag. The "you made me" is not truth. That's a big fat lie. And that's you projecting on them your need. And who, right? And that's where you, people have got to get conscious about, their expectations on others, right? And to begin to understand that what you need and what you expect from someone else is something that you can give to yourself, but they don't know it till they know it, or they have someone like us that helps them understand that self-love. When you have self-love, then you can't help but attract in someone that also has self-love, and then you can be in a whole healthy. So like when I've coached before do wedding ceremonies, I'll talk to the couples about, we come at each other usually like a C, like a half a circle, right? And we're looking for that one that will make us feel whole, right? The one that makes us feel loved, that one that makes us feel happy. Well, what happens when that person has a bad day and you're trying to connect to get your feeling of happiness and wholeness? It's just not going to happen. And in relationships, that sense of wholeness usually is in the beginning, right? And then it's like it slips, and then there's no connection, and then there's really far away connection. Where the healthiest place to become is whole unto yourself, so that you're a wholeness. I love myself. I appreciate myself. I accept myself. All of that, right? And then they do too. And then when you meet, then you come together and you got two wholes coming together in an expression of relationship. And it's way different than you trying to come at what you need from another to get what you want so that you can feel. Make those words red flags when you say, "Oh, you made me feel da da da," make that a red flag. Or if you made me so angry, no, you made yourself feel angry. You made yourself do that. So no one can do that. They may trigger you, and they may do something, right? But that's just a reflection of your own consciousness.
And I very much like this formula. I feel when you because. Yeah, and I try to explain to my clients to really use this formula when they speak, because there is so many times this, you make me this, you make me that, or something else, yeah. Because of him, I am like this, yeah.
Yep.
Who made me stay with him in first place?
Yep.
Somebody saying you to bed or something? No. You are free to leave if you don't like something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what we do is we end up giving our power to the other person. Dangerous territory when you start giving your power to someone else to make you feel something. So I say, come on, let's reel it back, right? Let's reel it back and take your power back, and take your life back, and take your joy back. And no one has control over that but you.
I love that.
You wanted to say, Ginny, something?
Just when somebody says you made me feel, they're giving away their power, and and taking it back is just a reminder to take that they need to take that back, that power, that because they need to take this. Okay, say it's sadness. You made me feel sad. You could take the sadness back and say, where is this in me? And just explore that. And it's usually from early childhood wounds, and then you do your own work. And from there, we doing our own work, either with a therapist or on our own, is we can release that, and we're coming to the other person clean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you can have a healthy conversation with them about what happened, right? Like, right. Wow, when this happened, I want to kind of tell you where I was going with it, and what I'm learning about myself. That's relationship. Right. That's healthy relationship, so that then the other has a clear idea about where you're really coming from. Otherwise, what they're getting is the reactivity behavior, like, the silent treatment, or, the running away, or whatever.
Right. So I'm saying you made me feel, and the only thing the other person's doing is getting defensive And once the other person gets defensive, the conversation is shut down. There is no growth in that. And so it's about, getting into curiosity about yourself. So I'm feeling sad. What's the sadness about? Like, he just triggered me. What is that sadness about? And where does it live in me? And how old is it? And ask all these questions. And then if you can't get rid of it, that's when you go to a therapist or somebody that can help you release it. And it's not the other person. Then you can come back and say, I was feeling sad when you said that. And I got really triggered. I got really hurt because, of this in my past or whatever. And what I need from you.
Yeah.
Is to be aware of this. I need for you to be more gentle when you talk to me. Whatever it is, whatever you need.
Yep. And is that a high conscious relationship when you can begin to say, what I need from you is, and then that's a request, actually. What I need from you is a request.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, but when we say I need, first satisfy it within yourself, and then within the relationship as a satisfied within yourself kind of healed person, you can go to your partner or your friend and say, this is what I'm learning about myself. And when I got triggered, and I think it's so important to talk about things that do trigger you, like the guy that yells in the neighborhood, right? You must have that. You can do your work. Because I don't have finger wagging down. Practice that though. She's good at it, finger wagging. That the conversation must have a completion. Otherwise, it's going to come back up for you to have a completion. So
right. So usually people, when you say you made me feel, the other person gets defensive, starts attacking, then and you get into this argument that goes nowhere. Then you let go of then you just walk away. You never get back to it. There's no growth, and then it happens again. And some people have the same argument throughout their marriage, like their whole marriage, and it never resolves because they don't know how to communicate. I mean, what we're really talking about is something that we should learn in grade school on how to have difficult conversations, and to know our feelings and be able to express our feelings. And I know some grade schools are teaching this, which is fabulous.
Yep.
Yeah. And my time when I was at school, nobody even think about something like that.
No, there was no discussion about feelings at all.
Yeah. Don't talk about feelings.
Right.
So what feelings are talking about? It has to be seen and not heard.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And tears were usually met with, I'll give you something to cry about. Right. So then you become afraid because I'll give you something to cry about. It implies more trauma.
Right. So then you shut down.
And so then you shut down. So it's important to greet all of those. I go back to the Rumi poem, all that stuff that's coming up, a sorrow, a sadness, a joy, a grief, a meanness, right? Meanness can come up. Retaliation comes up with me, like, oh yeah, I'll go. Oh, I could have had some forgiveness. It comes around, right? And to examine each of those things, greet them at the door, laughing, right? And that's the other thing I love is that laughter, and I use this in Heyoka when I'm working with deep trauma. When someone is in that coaching or moving someone to laugh begins to change the brain connection with the trauma. And that is so beautiful when someone begins to laugh in the presence of that trauma. It shifts it so that they can look at the trauma from a healthier perspective, not the trauma of the energy and the trauma kind of lock you into the trauma. This way, it's like, okay, there's the trauma, there's the feeling, but the laughter goes, oh, wait a minute, where's that trauma, right? It breaks it, and it allows you to be able to examine the trauma or that feeling from a higher perspective, a healthy perspective.
That's
So
really good. Changes the neural pathways of the brain. Doing
exactly.
That. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
I actually at the moment working with one client who for a very long time, he has very bad childhood, and really sorry for him, but he has lots of traumas from childhood, and nowadays he gets triggered very badly, and that's tragedy. Every trigger is tragedy. Yeah, and absolutely everything is still, I don't want to live anymore. I kill myself, and there's no point living. Everybody is bad.
Yeah, and see the mind. So the feelings come, the events come, and then the mind just takes you down that dark path, right? So coming back to, I usually have a 5-second rule with anytime anything happens. I just take 5 seconds to stop, breathe.
He does that one as well, but so many things we still have to work through, and it all doesn't help. And at one point, I just thank you, my guides. They just tell me, let him laugh about.
Yep.
And I told him, look, because he says that everybody with whom he works together and who is around him is like little children. They nothing they can do right. Always something is wrong. Yeah. I said, great. So imagine you're working in kindergarten and expect the worst. Go to work, expect the worst, and be extremely happy if something is good. And it really helps. He now, every session, we starting with laughter. He probably will come up with another 40-hour series from Australia. Yeah, because that is really so much, yeah, to laugh about.
Yep. I don't know who was it that said laughter is the best medicine. Who said that? Anybody know?
No, I don't remember, but I know this.
Yeah, and it really is, because it can, boy, shift mood, shift consciousness. It shifts you, and boy, it's like when I'm in a stuck place, if I just start laughing at myself, I'm unstuck. I get unstuck because, when you get worried about something or concerned about something, you get locked into this repetitive thinking and feeling, and it just gets worse, and it takes you down a spiral, right? But when you laugh at it, you break up the whole energy of it, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, that wasn't even worth fretting about, right? But we do. Worry is dangerous. Worry is a very dangerous path to go down. I've often said that I call it praying without ceasing, and you're praying for the wrong thing.
Right. And worrying is future tripping. It's not reality. It's just what you're making up about it.
Yeah,
You know,
which
no
is
idea.
based on your past, right?
Right. All right.
Which really says a whole lot about getting present. Being truly just being present. What, and start your day that way, everyone. Start your day by being present. Like, are you conscious of that first breath of waking up? Are you telling yourself, good morning? It's like, this is going to be a fabulous day. Or, it's like, how are you greeting yourself in the morning?
That's really good.
Okay, then we today not doing meditation.
Apparently not.
By the look of it. Okay, then, guys. I know many of you probably missed it. I was definitely missing it. So, any last words, both ladies? Do you want to say something to our viewers today?
I think we pretty much, for me, I think that this was an important show because, we can go through our lives with all the baggage and the sorrows and the hurts, but we don't evolve from that. We don't ascend from that. And this is about a time of ascension. And so it's imperative that we begin to find our footing on a higher frequency. It's imperative. So to be conscious about where we are and make a decision about where we want to be and go there, right? We can always choose to be happy. So I tell everybody, choose, exercise your power, your choice making ability, exercise that and choose joy, choose happiness. Choose, you get to choose.
Mm-hmm. And I would just say, it's about showing up for ourselves first before we can show up for anybody else, knowing what we want and then sharing that. But a lot of times we're showing up for other people, but we're not showing up for ourselves. We're giving ourselves away. So it's really important for us to do our own work and show up for ourselves and know what we want and give it to ourselves before we can give it to anybody else.
I think that will be, Jeannie, another show to talk about, because that already is in our matrix, in our programming, that you have to look after others, think about others. Otherwise, you are selfish. Yeah.
Yep, and then we'll add that other one that kind of tags along with it, which is it's more blessed to give than receive.
Exactly.
Ooh, talk about a big fat lie.
Exactly. So I think we sort of already know where we're going for next time.
Yeah.
On this lovely note, thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Sorry who missed meditation. Have a great week. We hopefully will, if everything is fine, we hopefully will be back next week. So please be ready, be with us, ask your questions, and have a great week. God bless.